Hello and welcome to my chat that I've decided to do with some assistance on Dragon Age Origins because I like the game and I want to talk about it for a little bit. Basically this is more of like an informal series. I was thinking of maybe just having, I'm not sure how much else I'll do with it, but if this turns out well then I might jump on some other games or some kind of other news or just, you know, something along those lines, but we'll just have to wait and see. So this is the purpose of this, was to just sort of talk about my opinions, I suppose you could say, how I feel about the game in a way, and my experience with it so far. And yeah, so to start off, I just thought I'd say that I've been looking at like actually getting Dragon Age for quite a long time, but I didn't really sort of just end up getting it after a while. Like since it's come out, it sort of caught my attention since there was a lot of buzz around it and everyone said it was like really freaking good, and I just sort of, like before now when I bought it in the Steam sale a few days ago, I just sort of I was a bit disappointed that I, you know, never got to pick it up before that, because it's definitely a fun game. You can sort of, between now from 2009, it does start to show its age a little bit visually, but for the most part it's quite a nice looking game. There's sometimes the textures do seem a bit bumpy for, you know, whatever reason, and it's not the best, but anyway, so yeah, so far it's been a pretty good game. I mean, the combat has been a struggle for me for the most part, because of the it's just the point and click auto attack has given me some issues, and I mean I've tried to sort of fight through it to, you know, for the good of the game, just to sort of play, but I've struggled. So but I'm getting there. I'm getting better as I go, and it's sort of, you know, it's getting easier through it, though sometimes you just come up against enemies and you just sort of get overwhelmed, and, you know, point and click sort of doesn't cut it too much. But, you know, for the most part though, I mean, it's been an enjoyable experience. Definitely the mission you're watching now, the Dalish mission, has been quite interesting. Which is another thing that I really like about it, is like the variation of, like, between the different races, between the humans and the elves and the dwarves. You can see a definite like cultural difference in them, especially between like the Dalish and everyone else, because they're sort of, you know, they're like the nomads of the world, and they have a very sort of interesting belief, I suppose you could call it. And yeah, it's been a fun mission fighting werewolves and such, but I thought I'd just sort of, you know, get into some more formal sort of like opinions, I suppose you could say, about different bits and pieces. So I've got my little list. It's a bad list, but anyway, just thought I'd make my way through that, see what we got. So I sort of already touched a little bit on the combat, but I sort of told you about my issues. Now I thought I'd, you know, maybe just sort of touch on the things that I liked about it. Funnily enough, there was some redeeming features, like the combat that they have. They have like a system that they've put in there called their tactics, which I quite enjoy using, to be honest. It makes fighting with like the group dynamic a bit easier, being able to, you know, tell people to just sort of do certain things, heal and stuff. It makes it really a bit more manageable, I suppose, apart from like the few little bugs that I've run into where stuff doesn't happen, which I'm not sure why that's the case, and I'm not sure why that's still in there, if it's like a bug or if it's intentional. But I find that especially my healer that I have on my team, she heals a lot, and by a lot I mean like not just in battle when she's meant to heal, but outside she just sort of drops heals. And they also tend to drink health potions when they're not meant to as well. Like I've got it set so that like when they're at 25% health, they heal themselves with a health potion, but they seem to heal themselves a little bit more often than that with the health potions, and I'm not exactly sure why. So I'm not sure if it's like I've got something configured that like overrides it, or one of the other tactics is affecting another. I don't know. I'm gonna have another bit of a play around with it, I suppose, try and work out my problems. But yet combat does leave a little bit to be desired for me. I'm not the biggest fan of the combat in this game, though. Other things in the game, like the characters and the story, have really what are pulling me through at the moment. I've had some trial and tribulations, mostly with one of the DLCs. Liliana's story was like the DLC that sort of caught my eye the most, and is probably just because it's like a detachment, and I kind of talked to her about the event that happens in it when she gets betrayed by that other woman, and yeah, playing through that was kind of cool and informative. You know, you got to see a little bit into her past, because she's one of probably the more interesting companions that at least I've run in so far. I mean, I'm only like 20 hours in, maybe. Wouldn't be much more than 20 hours, so I mean, I think I still got a bit of the game left to go, but I don't know. But so far, it's been apart from my issues with combat, it's been a pretty good experience, and I'm happy with it so far. But maybe, yeah, just if that was a little bit, but I can't. It's just one of those things I can't get out of my mind, man. It's just the combat. It really pulls the game down for me. I think this is a great game, great characters. Combat, man, you gotta get on that BioWare, fix it or something. But yeah, I'm thinking I should probably start moving down my list a bit more, since I don't want to dwell on the combat too long, or I'll end up wasting the entire friggin' chat on just why I hate the combat. I could probably make an entire chat about why I hate the combat, but this isn't what this is about. This is my opinions of the entire game, though I suppose the combat is still a valid opinion. But still, I feel like it's time to move on, so we'll branch into something else. We're gonna branch over into the characters, which I did touch on this a little bit before, I think, with Liliana's character, who I find rather interesting, her past being I forget what her race, her country she's from. Orlais, that's the one. She's yeah, she's all Asian. One thing I do like about the all Asians is they have like a French sort of twist in their accent, which is quite cool. But also, yeah, she's got a lot of like stories. Liliana does, and like when you talk to her, you can like, you have the option to, like, you know, have a bit of a chat with her, find out about her, and then it's like this bard option, and she like has a whole bunch of stories that she can tell, which I just found kind of cool. Which is the same with a lot of them. You can, you know, find out about their past and stuff. I've been sort of favouring towards having Alistair, because he's a bit of a character. He's a bit of a character, that old Alistair. He gets himself into a bit of trouble amongst the companions, all your other companions and stuff. You know, he's definitely the smart ass of the lot, but that does prove for pretty good entertainment value. So if he's also a decent tank to have there beside you when you're fighting. So definitely, if you're looking for like an uplifting experience in Dragon Age Origins, keep Alistair in your party. I assure you, you won't regret it. He says some interesting stuff, especially his sort of like his talking to Morrigan in particular can be rather interesting. They're not very fond of each other, but anyway, yeah. So Morrigan, probably, since I mentioned her just a second ago, I might as well have a bit of a chat about her, because she's someone I'm very opinionated on. Bit of a bitch, probably so far the nastiest character in the game that I've met, companion side. She's a bitch, and it's like she's a bitch and she knows it, and she doesn't really care about anything, which kind of makes me think, why does everyone like this fucking idiot? I mean, she really just doesn't. I mean, I think people think she's like hot or something. I don't know. She's got a junk hanging out all over the joint. That's probably what people like her. All the horny teenagers or something. I don't know. But anyway, characters are diverse. Like I mentioned with Alistair and Liliana, they have good backgrounds you can look into and all that kind of stuff, and it's really interesting to which is something I've been doing. I've been really getting into the lore, much like with Mass Effect. BioWare do a great job with story and even more background story and lore behind different characters in the world you're in. It's quite interesting. But yeah, speaking of story in this game it's definitely there to keep you going, because there's a lot of story in this game if you look for it. I mean, there's the main story where you just like, you know, freaking, you're the good guy kicking ass against the evil darkness. But also there's there's, you know, the companion stories and the lore, and it's just sort of, it's a game rich with content and just so much stuff you can see and do, and just, you know, the way that depending on your race, people, you know, react to you differently. So like, since I'm playing as a dwarf, as you can see, people, you know, they'll point that out and they'll, you know, respond to me differently because I'm a dwarf as opposed to a human or an elf. I think you can start as a daily shelf, and one of the things, so I'm wondering how that might work out in this section of the game anyway, like whether this is the tribe you come from, or whether, you know, they're a bit more, you know, open to accepting you in if you're another Dalish, who knows. But I might check that out in my next playthrough as well. But yeah, it's gonna take some time to yeah, just have a chat. I hope you enjoy my chat. It's a bit short, but I think it's a pretty decent chat. I had a bit of fun, you know, just having a chat here with you guys. Still don't know if this is what I'll be using, but, you know, we'll see. If you're watching this on YouTube, then this is what I've got. So I hope you enjoyed, and have a good one, guys. See you later.